Hi, I'm Adam Chandler. I'm the Senior Art Director on Arena, and today I'm going to be showing you some of what goes into making our card sleeves. To start, we generally break down sleeves into three types. Basic sleeves are sleeves that feature card or marketing art with no real bells or whistles. Bordered sleeves feature custom bordered frames integrated into the sleeve art. Then there's Exquisite sleeves, which utilize custom-made VFX and 2D animation to bring the art to life. So let's go through them one by one. Basic sleeves, as you might expect, are the least art-intensive sleeve type to make, though there's still a lot of consideration that goes into choosing what art will be featured on these sleeves. This is usually done by our production art team, consisting of Kevin Moy, Carlin Addison, and Sid Roberts, who go through the set during our kickoff and identify art pieces that will fit well within the card frame and make for the most appealing sleeves. While the process of creating these basic sleeves is fairly simple, the artists will often add extra details such as frame breaks, where parts of the art will overlap the frame to make it feel more dynamic. For bordered sleeves, our production artists usually identify art featuring major characters or moments from the set. Then someone from our 2D team, consisting of Paul Chu, Aaron Lolius, and Cami Woodruff, will spend a few days creating a custom hand-painted border based on the style and elements of the card art featured on the sleeve. They usually create 3 to 5 of these borders per set, sometimes creating variations on one border style, as seen with the 3 witches from Wilds of Eldraine, and sometimes creating unique borders themed after characters such as Saheeli, Vito, and Quintorius from Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Exquisite sleeves will also often have a painted border, but this type of sleeve goes above and beyond by integrating animations and VFX. To give a few examples of the animation process for Exquisite sleeves, here's the art for Master Transmuter from Conflux, which our production artist Carlin Addison used as the initial prototype for Arena's animated sleeves. Carlin chose this art based on the dynamic pose and easily defined separation points, which made it a good candidate for this type of animation. He then extracted the character from the background in Photoshop and separated it into pieces based on where he wanted to place joints for translation and rotation, painting extra detail into areas that were overlapped in the original art. Once this process is complete, there are 3 textures for character, background, and border, and the final animation for this prototype was done in After Effects. After the prototype was greenlit, Carlin worked with our senior tech artist Joseph Danaher to adapt this pipeline for our game engine, Unity, and we started implementing these animated sleeves into Arena. For a recent example, let's look at the Sir Ginger sleeve from Wilds of Eldraine. First, Paul created some initial concepts for the border around a gingerbread cookie theme, and after reviewing them with the team, decided to go with a design with doors on either side to help lend a sense of action to the scene. There were a lot of considerations when painting the border, including matching the gingerbread elements in the art, breaking the cookie and icing apart in some areas to add variation and visual interest, and integrating the graphical elements like the set symbol at the top. While Paul was working on the border, Carlin separated elements from the art, much like you saw in the prototype example, and converted the image into sprites that Unity can use, then worked with Joseph to create the final animation, while our lead VFX artist Kevin Marble created the smoke effect for the background. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Joseph for a bit to discuss some of the technical details of these animated sleeves.
Hi, I'm Joseph Danaher, a senior tech artist on the Arena team. I'm going to show you around the anatomy of some of our animated Exquisite sleeves. So these are static images that are basically renders of the first frame of animation, so they line up nicely with it. Over here on the left is Sir Ginger about to end someone's meal. When you mouse over the sleeve, we disable that static image and activate an animated object, which we can kind of see happening over here. There's our static image. and our animated one being activated. And at the end of the animation, we have an event that puts the card back in its original state. So we also have a stencil around the sleeve border. And what a stencil does is it only allows pixels to be rendered that are inside of it. So that allows us to do things like this, where things can come in and out of frame. The VFX are stenciled and all that. In this scene where Elspeth stabs Elshnorn is necessary for that. And we have a few varieties of these things. These are sort of like once-off animations. And then this one over here, which is Atraxa being worshipped by her followers, is actually 3 animations. So one that plays when you mouse over the sleeve, and then one that plays while you're hovering over it, sort of looping animation. And then another one is this closing animation that settles into that resting pose on the static image. I thought it might also be fun to look at the exploded view for some of these. So here I've taken those same sleeves and moved some of the parts away from one another so we can see what we're working with under here. You can also see our stencil at work here. All right, thank you.
Finally, I wanted to look at our most recent Exquisite sleeve from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, where we focused our efforts on VFX instead of animation. As with the previous example, the first step was for Paul Chu to concept and create the border. Considerations here included using darker values so as not to compete with the bright sky in the art, keeping the contrast of the border lower than that of the foreground figure, and matching the side-on light direction seen in the art. Paul also concepted possibilities for VFX during this stage, as in this concept, which includes glowing runes within the border. He worked with our VFX artist, Angelica Lopez Rivera, to decide what the final effect should look like, which ended up being flashier and more prominent than the earlier concepts. You can see that Angelica's final VFX emphasizes both the border and the figure in the art, along with highlighting the light burst at the top and adding secondary effects like the glint along the bottom of the border. Whether we're using a VFX or an animation-focused approach, our goal is always to create exquisite sleeves that are visually striking and take advantage of the digital medium to make our players' Magic experience memorable and exciting. I hope you've enjoyed this look into the sleeve creation process on Arena. Thanks for watching, and thanks for playing.